Welcome to the Smith Sisters Talk Show. I'm Gwen.
And I am Crystal Smith.
And the topic of our show today is the end of the jungle primary, a voter's guide to Louisiana's closed primary. And we are so happy today that Susie Labry took time out of her busy schedule. She's always at the Capitol. She's like, a lobbyist, and she's like very, very busy. She is an influencer in the Baton Rouge area, especially at the Capitol. So how you doing today, Susie?
Mighty fine, fat, happy, and blessed.
That's a good thing.
That's a great thing. And how's the weather up there, Susie?
The weather's great. It's partly cloudy. It's very pleasant out, and I believe there might be a front coming in. And all the hard stuff went east. I just checked.
Thank you. Thank you, Susie.
Okay, so we want to start with this educational format on the jungle primary. That's not going to be happening anymore, but we're going to give information on Louisiana's closed primary. So with the first question, I'd like to ask you, Susie, why did Louisiana switch to a closed primary system for certain elections in 2026?
That's because the bill is House Bill 17 by Representative Julie Emerson. It's now Act 1 of the first special extraordinary session of 2024. And the bill calls for that. I don't know why they pick certain offices, because I guess they let the local people run local affairs, and there's more homogeneity on the local level than on a state level. I don't know why. It was because of those 4 offices. I don't know what the reasoning is behind it. But the liberals have their reasons and the conservatives have their reasons. So
you're very right.
You're very correct.
The origins of the what I call semi-closed primary. Everybody wants to call it a closed primary. I do not want to call it that. It's semi-closed because that brings it's not just for the party only. It's for the party plus no party.
Okay, let's give our listening audience a definition of the difference between a jungle primary and the closed primary. Just a quick definition before we get into our show.
A jungle primary is an open primary where all parties vote in the primary levels. You don't have party nominees like you do in a closed primary. In a closed primary, the party picks its nominees. Like you see in the presidential elections, the convention gets there and they have their own nominees, and each party's nominees run in the general election where everybody votes for anybody they want. Like Democrats can vote for Republicans or vice versa. Their own. But in a primary, you're only voting for registered party voters that you've in your party. Like, I'm Republican, then all I am able to vote for is which Republican to get the Republican Party nomination. And then in a general election, I can vote for anybody I want.
Okay. Chris?
Okay, Susie. The average voter is not aware of the information they need to vote. So where would they acquire that information?
Good question.
Well, first of all, ask who it might help them focus if they ask who their candidate is. I was for Jimmy Fitzmaurice. Everybody knows it. This makes me think better. I can think clearly. It orders my mind. And I was a Democrat. We all were Democrats back then when Jimmy Fitzmaurice ran,
Okay.
And you, as a Democrat, you're a registered Democrat, and you have Democrats run, and that's going to bring me to a future question to save time. Yeah, Jimmy Fitzmaurice ran, Paul Hardy ran, Bubba Henry ran, Louis Lambert ran, and Sonny Mouton ran, and many other candidates. You, in the first primary, you vote for one of those Democratic candidates inside your party, and the two top winners win. It's usually have a second primary or runoff in the primaries, and whoever that top vote get, if they get more than 50% of the vote, like then the other parties, well, they have a date where you can run the open general election, and you vote for Dave Treen, and that's what Jimmy Fitzmaurice, Self Lover Henry, and many others had done. We had won Lambert, and that's why Lambert became the winner, because he was the only liberal, and the conservatives split each other's vote, which we'll cover deeper later. But that's what a closed primary. Well, that was the last of the closed primary. I mean, you could vote for any party.
Susie, do you know what year that was? Primary. Susie, do you know which year that was? Do you have any idea approximately?
Yes, 1979 was the primary. The first primary was in 1979. In 1980 was the runoff. And what happened is the three conservatives lost to Lambert, the nominee, so Lambert got it. He won that Democratic nominee, and so he got to run against Dave Treen. Dave Treen got to run against him. He ran 3 long election cycles before Dave Treen just popped up in the last minute and ran and won.
Okay, let's educate our listeners on why we're doing this show, because this new closed primary is coming up like really soon, and a lot of us are really confused and don't know that it's going to be happening. I've been talking to some people, and they said they don't know what's happening, but I'm telling you.
So, Susie, excuse me, may I interject, Gwen? Susie, what I need to know is the Secretary of State going to put information in the newspaper? This is a lot of, it's going to throw a lot of registered voters off.
Go to the Secretary of State website, as I advise everybody to, and I'm sure the candidates will all stick something in the paper so they can get protected, and I hope the Secretary does too. I can't speak on behalf of the Secretary.
Correct.
Okay,
but it's all going to be, I think it's sos.law.gov.
I think you're correct.
Just look up Louisiana Secretary in the elections area, and you also had your little Go Vote application, GEAUX. Vote Go is GEAUX. It's Go Vote, and you can download that. You can download that and see your own ballot or whatever. And you have to be a registered voter and use your ID to get into that. So that's another way you could see who your candidates are.
That is true.
Advice that I would give you, like, for instance, right now, for John Fleming for the U.S. Senate, which is one of the races, Senate, House, you got Public Service Commission, and you got the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, those elections.
So they'll have all.
I don't know why those were, but that's what the bill called for in House Bill 17.
That's a good point. Who wrote do you know who wrote this bill? Do you have any idea?
Representative Julie Emerson in Lafayette. She wrote the bill, House Bill 17, which is Act 1 of the first extraordinary special session in 2024. And she wrote the bill, but what happened, the bill got amended by the Senate, by Senator Fazy, and it got to be a legislative process, wheeling and dealing issue rather than what the bill is about, opposed to open primaries. And said, well, why did Mike Fazy put in Amendment 94 in the Senate? And I looked at the vote patterns and all, and what it was, the conservatives wanted a closed primary, but they're not going to have a totally closed primary. Well, in order for this bill to pass, what Senator Fazy did was to put an amendment to where it would attract the other side of the party, which we tend to call rhinos or moderates or whatever. They did not want a closed primary. They wanted to keep an open primary. So the best way they did it was Mike Fazy put an amendment up to allow other parties to vote in the primaries, either the Democratic or Republican primary. That's a no-no. But we had, in order to keep the bill, we had to deal and accept that amendment, which really, Julie Emerson doesn't like it, nor do I like it. I believe that, but if you're going to want that bill, you might as well have it. To me, that doesn't make sense because you may have enough. I don't know enough about no party to say who they're going to vote for and the statistics in order to make a judgment on that. And we don't know how many, but I think it's 650,000.
I think you're right. So
one vote makes a difference in this area. So, I mean, that's a lot of votes. That's 650,000 times one. One vote makes a difference in a lot of elections that I've been involved in.
But a lot of people are going to come out and vote. We want to vote as citizens to know that this is our right to do so. At one point, females couldn't even vote. Do you remember that in the past? The men would vote, and then the women got the right to vote, and then others got the right to vote. So we have to, regardless of what the circumstances are, it is important and vital that we as citizens go out and vote.
And it's not that hard. We have to that's why we're doing this show, and the topic of the show today is the end of the jungle primary, a voter's guide to Louisiana's closed primary with Susie Labry. And we are encouraging everybody within the sound of our voice to get educated. We're trying to do this the best we can. That's why we got Susie on to explain to us the different issues about the closed primary.
I'm sure there'll be more.
When you choose a party that agrees with you most.
Very good.
That is true, Susie.
Yes.
It leads to the evils. It may not. No party, I don't know what the no party is. I tend to think they liberal but don't care for the Democratic Party. Like, you know, they don't want the papacy of the Democratic Party.
Right. Well, that's what they want.
Let me give you some specific information before Crystal go into our other question. The No Party is the Libertarians and the Green Party. And I know that in May we're going to be... Yeah. Okay. In May we're going to be voting on congressional people, on our senators, a Bessie board, et cetera, and those individuals...
I'm going to have to argue on that because the bill called... All right, you had two bills. You had one bill by Beth Billings, which was House Bill 420 of the 25 regular session. All that bill did was to delete the independent party because really the independent party is not a party. These other parties are parties.
Okay.
That's the difference. If that's what I gather, I would have to urge everybody to search it themselves, you know.
And do some research or call the Secretary of State. So with that being...
The best is to call your Secretary of State or seek, like I had to do, is seek the legislation and let it speak for itself.
Yes.
And
so
each step, that's the birth. That's why you say, why is it? And that's that House Bill 17.
But I think
what House Bill 17 did with the Fazee Amendment was to open it just, as I understand it, because these bills are hard to read. Some lawyers can't even read it.
That's good to know, and they're lawyers. Go ahead.
So the independent party was deleted. It's not independent party. The label independent was deleted and called the no party, and I think her Representative Billings was intentional to keep that as clear the way I'm explaining it, so we as well as I don't get confused, because I didn't know that myself.
Well, I hope they put it in the newspaper.
I hope they put it in the newspaper. Okay, so yeah, like, how will the state, in your understanding, your hypothesis, how will the state manage the mass confusion of the split system? What do you think?
Legislation. Well, first of all, let me tell you what's required in order to clear it. And we've been trying to clear it, I think, since the beginning of time. I have to get in the history to get it there. First of all, you have to pass legislation if you want something or not. But it's because of the makeup of the legislators, the registration, and the ideology. Ideology crosses party lines. Saying you're Republican or Democrat doesn't mean much. Well, maybe if you say you're Democrat, it means a lot. The Democratic Party is pure in unity, and it's liberal. It's more way far left.
Okay.
The Republican Party has like 3 to 4 parties in it. You have the extreme conservatives, you have the regular conservatives, and you have whatever Congress called study group. They one at a time, and then you have your liberal rhinos. And a lot of them overlap each other because we're organisms. We live and we evolve.
That is true.
And, and what happened, if you go back in the Democratic Party before Treen, we were like a piece of land. You had like 4 parties going on. You had the right-wing conservatives, and then you had your conservative moderates, and then your regular liberals, more like the yellow dog, and you had your regulars, and then you had your extreme left. What happened? We were trolled. The 3 of the parties were kind of trolled out of the Democratic Party and went into the Republican Party. And in my opinion, the Republican Party inherited that from what the Democrats used to be. And the only one that got left in the Democratic Party was the extreme left side. And that's why in pure unity, and we're totally divided the way we
okay, so let me
divided.
Right, let me
really long days.
Correct. But Susie, let me interject this because we only have a half an hour show. So do you think that this new system will force candidates to become more extreme?
In the Democratic Party?
In both.
In both. In both. No, in both.
Obama got it, and somebody more conservative or moderate Democrat. I'd say somebody like Steph Morrison or something. You would have more land. You would get. You would definitely not have Jimmy Fitzmaurice or.
No. What they're saying is, in relationship to this, is that, like I said, we are going to be short on 7. We're talking about 2026. What they're saying is that if you're an incumbent within the Republican Party and you're an incumbent within the Democratic Party, it's going to be easier for you because you have to go strictly Democrat or you have to go strictly Republican. And
the Democrats can enforce that well because the unified, the Republicans, you don't have to agree with the Republican.
No, we're talking about in regards to the new party that's going to be the new system that's going to be taken over. And so it's just going to have people, they have to choose either one when it comes to those specific races.
The Left Party is not a party. It's a bunch of people that are not registered under a party. They choose which party that they're going to vote on. They can choose the Democrats, vote with them, or they can vote with the Republicans. And once they choose that, they have to vote in every primary.
Correct.
The party until the general election, and they're free to vote who they want to in the general election.
That's true. And again, the Smith Sisters Show, we are doing a talk show on the end of the jungle primary, a voter's guide to Louisiana's closed primary with Miss Susie Labry, who is a maverick at this, and she's at Capitol all day long, and she's studying these bills. We don't want, you guys are not going to figure this out all in one show, okay? You're going to have to call the Secretary of State, you're going to have to call your state legislators and your senators because they're incumbent upon them to educate you on how this process works, okay? And we also want to let everybody know that we are Christians, Christian conservatives, we are Christians, and we want everybody to know when you go into that ballot, say your prayers before you even pull that lever. Even pray on this new system that's coming up, this new closed primary system. So that's why we have Susie Labry on, and Crystal has another question for you, Susie.
Okay, Susie. How can a no-party voter choose a major party ballot in the closed primary? How do they even go about assessing that?
Primary, I think we need to be clear what a ballot is. Let me explain it. Say, okay, I'm for John Fleming for senator.
Well, we're not going to push any candidates. We're just giving information to the voters. We're not going to push who I'm for, who Crystal's for, or who Susie for. We just want to give education. So let's get back on the education point.
Again, what I'm saying, your candidates is also a good source of information as well.
Correct.
But now, if you're in the primary, if you tend to vote Republican, whoever the Republican nominees are, you'll find out that they have qualification is better than what I just said. Find out who your Republicans are. You have to vote one of those Republicans. You can't vote outside, like say for John Bell Edwards or some other guy that's running in another party.
Correct.
You have to vote for one. That's what I was trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
You have to vote for one of those registered. That's called a closed primary. And whoever gets that 50% of that vote,
Correct.
they were ready to run in the general election, say against a Democrat or a Green or whatever. But not in no party. No party is no party.
Okay.
It's no party. The no party, once they vote in that first primary, say you have a runoff, say between two candidates, two Republican candidates for the nominee, the party nominee. You're not voting for the Senate, you're voting for the party's nominee.
That's good to know. A lot of people aren't okay.
Those two, you have to vote for one of those two candidates. You're not ready for the general election until we get our party nominee. Once you get the nominee, then you can vote either for Republican, Democrat, other party, no
Correct.
party, or anything you want to vote for.
Now, Susie, are you aware that there are some deadlines in May that people have to register and make sure?
Yes, you need to check your secretary with the Secretary of
The Secretary of
And
State.
it's on the website.
Yes.
It should be on the website, and if not, you can call what the Secretary of State's office.
Correct.
Or you could ask AI or ask the Secretary. You could just say,
That is
hey,
true.
When do you have to, in order to vote in the May 16th primary,
That is it.
when do you have to register by?
Okay, let's go back to the premise and the purpose of this show. Our show is about empowering Christian advocates and educating them. That's why we have you on this show. Why is it important for Christians to get involved and understand what you're saying right now in the political process for everybody to get out and vote? Because this is a new thing that's coming, this new party system. Why do you think, Susie, it's important for Christians to get involved and understand the political process and get out and vote and get ready for this new system?
Because there's legislation that these people vote on that comes to Congress and other offices too. They vote, for religious freedom and for church and state, prayer in the schools, pro-life. There's a lot of Christian-related issues.
Correct.
That are in there, and the Christians need to study their candidates, study the background, get to go know their candidates, and see their past. And the legislature has
Very true.
It's all the way back to when technology started, and you could go way, way back in the past and see how they voted. And I urge everybody to check all the bills. And your religious organizations have it, your pro-life
Correct.
organizations, the Christian organizations. They have grading systems and ballots and all, and like the Louisiana Family Forum, they get a bunch of bills they're interested in. They see that it's related to that issue, and that they'll tell you which to go forward in, and then read the bills themselves, and let the voters read the bills themselves and agree with them, and so join them and vote with them and support these bills.
Well, Susie, the main thing we need to do is to get these political people who are already being paid by the consumer to get in these offices to get out literature to us.
Isn't that
they
correct,
have a
Susie?
budget that they can disseminate information out to the public.
To the voters.
Since it's new, we're not familiar. It's understood. We're not familiar. Therefore, we need all of decks on hand, okay? We need all
adults. We should have learned this in the schools. I learned in the second grade about the voting process. Who was the president? Who was the governor? Who was the mayor? How the voting's done, the political conventions, and all that. And I'm hoping that we learned that we vote. We had mock elections in the classrooms that teach us how to vote.
That's excellent. Susie, that's great. Yeah. But this generation is not there. This is 2026. They're not doing the same thing. They're going to have to find out.
To get their friends and family.
Very good.
Very good, Susie.
And get the information out. Like this is a good example. And I want to encourage the voter, don't stay home and not.
Please don't.
Please don't.
It affects you, and you're paying for this.
Makes a difference, and you are more powerful than you think.
You heard what you said? Repeat that? No. Susan, repeat that again. What you just said? You're what? You're more powerful than you think. That's what I want to impress upon the listening audience of this show.
The registered voters,
the
yes.
registered voters. I myself, if I have an issue or if I'm concerned about a certain topic, I'm going to call my state rep. I'm going to call my senator. I'm going to call D.C.
Those messages. They tick them and they count your vote because sometimes they don't know how to vote. They can check with their constituents.
Very good. They do.
A committee of legislators. That one letter can make a difference. That one phone call can make a difference.
Or one email.
And many of them tell me, "Oh, this is the first time I heard about this."
Oh, well, guess
Susie.
what? I am so glad that you came on the show today. We're going to be doing some follow-ups on
Now,
this
Susie, you need to tell people how they can contact you. Sunshine?
Louisiana Sunshine.
Go for it, Susie.
To see how it's done, you can check my Facebook page.
Good.
Or you can check, it's under Susie Labry, and I'm the one at the microphone. And another page, a Facebook page, is Louisiana Sunshine. The rest, you can find me and message me, and I don't think you have to be a friend in order to message me online. It's 225-235-7879. You can call and text me and ask questions. And whatever I can answer, be glad to answer for you.
Well, thank you, Susie, for coming on, but we need to end the show. We will contact you after this, but we're just going to end the show at this point.
Yeah, I want to hurry up and tell you that Susie also has us on our X. The show is going to be promoted on Susie's X. Okay, so listen to the Smith Sisters Talk Show on WVOG 600 AM each Friday evening of the month, 6:30 until 7 p.m. Again, 6:30 until 7 p.m. You can contact us at our email at 3009-301@gmail.com. We're also on YouTube. We're also on Facebook. We're also on X. And on Friday, you can listen to this show with Susie Labry and the Smith Sisters online.
So stay tuned until next time.
And thank you so much for tuning in to the Smith Sisters Talk Show. I'm Gwen, and let's take this journey together. Thank you so much. Bye.
You're welcome.